What's up, you guys? Welcome to The Imagination. I'm your host, Emma, and today I'm so honored to have back on the show once again podcast regular, Masonic Ritual Abuse Victim, Survivor, and Whistleblower, medical intuitive biofeedback practitioner for over 40 years, empath, entrepreneur, public speaker and improv comedian, clean farming and nature lover, and an incredible hero coming forward to advocate for whistleblower and survivor protection and safety, and to do everything in her power to facilitate the change she wishes to see in the world, Allison Adams. Here's a
Thank
little bit
you.
about Allison, in case you guys are new here, if you missed her previous riveting episodes, or if you just need a little recap. Long before tragedy sought her out, Allison had already forged a remarkable path as an outsider by choice and circumstance. Diagnosed with juvenile myoclonic epilepsy as a child, she refused to let the condition define her. For 45 years, she mastered it through an unwavering commitment to clean food, restorative sleep, mindfulness, and inner sovereignty. What began as biofeedback evolved into her superpower, a disciplined daily practice of awareness and control that kept her vibrant, grounded, and free. Her days overflowed with simple, genuine joys. Gym friendships, miles of hiking through the pristine woods of the Appalachian foothills, lunch dates, and the deep sharing that rises from authentic human connection. She moved through life with openness and trust, befriending a woman at the gym whose warmth and companionship blossomed into shared hikes, stories exchanged in the soulful quiet of the forest, and a sense of belonging she had long sought. But that trust was brutally weaponized. For 2 years, a sophisticated network stalked and targeted her, harvesting her personal details and turning them into traps. Then, in April 2020, on the patio of an acquaintance named Marty, a James Beard nominated chef connected to the network, Allison was drugged with at least 4 substances and plunged into harrowing 10 missing hours of ritualistic horror, violation, strangulation, hazing, and orchestrated terror at the hands of an organized collective of community pillars, restaurant owners, and others who gathered to inflict pain on her. Yet, even in that altered state, her decades of biofeedback training awakened. While her body appeared unconscious, her mind remained hyper aware, absorbing fragments that would later become the foundation of her reconstructed truth. Allison was not born into a multi generational cult family. She was a quote unquote regular woman, lured, hunted, and caught by the cult group who abused her, revealing just how insidious and how organized the darkness can be, and how anyone can become a target when trust is exploited. In the brutal months and years of recovery that followed, she patiently gathered clues, memories, and inner knowing. Piece by piece, she reconstructed what happened, applying the same mastery that once tamed her epilepsy to survival and healing. Physical imprints remained, a high impact collarbone injury that physical therapists associated only with extreme trauma, hair that transformed literally overnight from stick straight to dramatically curly for years, and a debilitating mystery illness she later identified as stemming from injected parasites that left her bedridden for days at a time, attacking her liver, producing agonizing rashes, and nearly claiming her life. Through relentless self advocacy, research, and protocols, including ivermectin and rated antiparasites, she fought her way back towards remission, reclaiming energy, clarity, and vitality. Allison is still living in the town where the attack occurred, still navigating ongoing targeting, including a home invasion we detailed on her last episode. She knows the risks, yet will not be deterred or silenced. Survival for her is not passive endurance, it's active rising, speaking, organizing, and loving the vulnerable more fiercely because she knows the cost. Rooted in inner discipline, practiced awareness, and unyielding courage, she's become a force of justice and healing. She calls for safety, shelter, support, and protection for those brave enough to expose the darkness. Her message is clear and urgent. Do what you can, but do something. She reminds us that laughter coexists with tears, that healing is nonlinear, that one can feel the flu-like purge of speaking truth and still emerge lighter and more alive. She's living proof that the human spirit, when anchored in practiced awareness and unyielding courage, can transcend even the most depraved evil. Because Allison chose to rise and speak, despite the danger and despite the cost, the world is forever brighter, stronger, and more compassionate. So, you guys, without further ado, please help me in welcoming back today's guest of honor, survivor and thriver, survivor advocate, walking miracle, courageous, passionate purveyor of truth, voice for the voiceless, and the brightest light in the darkness, the one, the only, Allison Adams.
Oh
Allison,
my
it's
gosh.
good to have you back. I love that you're just a regular on the show now, and I get to see you more, and so does my audience.
I love it. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for that intro. That was the nicest intro. Your intros always like tear me up. I'm like, and I know they're coming too. That's what's so funny.
You're so deserving of it. It's been really amazing, the journey of having you on, and even just watching you blossom as a whistleblower from being really nervous your first episode going in, and now like seeing your confidence and like watching you as an educator and like stepping into your role and finding your purpose. It's just really beautiful. And I love how my audience has been embracing you and asking questions. And one of the things that we talked about last time doing that we got a huge demand for in the comments was diving deeper into the topic of parasites, which was a part of the last episode that we touched on but didn't really do a deep dive. And so
Yeah.
I'll you sort of preface what we'll be talking about today. And of course, if you have any updates or anything that you want to talk about first, but I'm really excited to talk about this topic. It's such a common thing that survivors go through. And it's honestly something the general public has really no idea about either. And they're probably all affected by it in one way or another too, even if it's in a different way than ritual abuse survivors. So I'm really excited to hear more about your experiences that we touched on last time, and to also learn more about what parasites are, why cults find interest and purpose in using them, and then also how do we get rid of them, so I'm excited to touch on all of these with you. So I'll hand it to you, and you can start with parasites, or like I said, if you have updates or anything, feel free to share.
Oh, thank you. I do have a little bit of an update. I talked to a wonderful viewer this week, and so in some of my past episodes, I had kind of said I need IT help. I know they're following me. I know I'm being tracked, but I didn't really know how to go about getting help. I just knew I needed help. And your viewers are amazing. This beautiful woman called me and she's like, I'm not an expert, but I've been going through this about 6 years. And she was an expert to me, and I so appreciated the advice. Um, but just on that, she guided me to, well, first off, also in my flight, I've said I need IT help and I need to get to safety. And she was awesome also in that, in kind of like a tough love kind of a way, or an older sister. She was like, safety might be an unrealistic goal, like to move and then be safe. And her recommendation was move every 3 months, stay kind of bob and weave, kind of. And especially at first, she's on that cycle, and she says it takes about 6 months for them to find her. And then we kind of went through the signs of what happens then. But she was like, don't buy another house. You got to stay fluid. And I thought that was good advice. Also, her advice on IT was you need to get a private phone. Honestly, I didn't even know there were private phones. Like, that was a whole nother, I didn't know that existed. So she gave me a great brand. I have it, I think, written down. I think it's called Above. I'm really interested in if any users or anybody watching has a private phone, what they like about it, and which one they have. Also, she gave me a server to use. It was called Linux. Does anybody use it? And what else? It's a private server. And she said the 3 ways that they track us are apps on our phone, our credit cards. I said 3, and now I'm like only thinking I know there's another one. Oh, our GPS, like through Google, that way. And so she told me how the private phone above actually gives lessons, and it's really hands-on and interactive with the company. Obviously, I guess anyways, it's a problem for everybody, not just us, but it's a big problem for us survivors when we're being chased. And the IT help was to get out of being tracked by credit cards. She has a way that she set up her funds to go through a trust. So she has her credit cards and it's all private. So that's like very advanced for me. I'm like, whoa, I'm going to start with a phone. But all I thought great information, and I wanted to pass that on to everybody watching.
And by private phone, is that like a burner phone? Just like something that's not connected to like a major network and something that a lot of people don't have access to? Like it's not your normal number or anything like that? Like what's a
private phone? I think it's yes, all of the above, but not necessarily just that category. You do get it's a private company that makes a phone. And then on that, she explained the one phone she has that I'll have another number, but I go through portals almost. Like I actually have almost folders in the phone that you can like line up your apps and line up everything. I have so much more to learn about it, but I think it's definitely a burner phone. But then once you get your phone, you still have to take steps to like an identified phone number and all of that.
Interesting. Okay. Well, that's good to know. That would be a cool topic to go more into, especially if people have questions that we can look up for another episode, or even to have her, help us with some of that information. It would be really cool. So I appreciate you sharing. And thank you to this wonderful woman who did reach out from the audience and provided that really helpful feedback. Man, that's kind of stressful though, to think about moving 3 to 6 months.
It is, but if you know what you're dealing with, and I guess also like if you move and then you think, oh good, I'm safe, and then you get yourself in another position, I guess mentally it helps because you're just like, okay, this is how it's gonna go, and it hopefully isn't forever, but maybe I can just wear them down. She said, she was funny because she's like, they're lazy, and maybe they'll just get tired. I don't know how to get untargeted. I know I'm targeted now, and I know I'm going to do everything I can to get them away from me. And if it takes moving every 3 to 6 months, I'll do it for a little while. Hopefully not forever.
I'd definitely be curious if other people have, their experiences with moving, whether it's permanent, if you bought a house, or if anybody else is sort of on the run in a say where they're relocating and moving every few months. So leave your comments below, you guys. And thank you so much, Allison, for sharing. I ask everybody to pray over you during this time. It's kind of a scary change to make whenever you've had stability just at a home, you're used to like a home base, but it's also really exciting that you're getting answers and you just seem kind of like lighter and like more looking forward to what's going to happen. So I have a feeling it's going to be a really good thing for you.
Thank you. Just to have a plan, like that's so great. At least I can focus on, okay, I do this and do this. And also with talking to the viewers, they were so great on, I had several comments. I threw out New Mexico and Arizona, and I'm sure those are great cities, but they were like, yeah, that probably wouldn't be the best one, Allison. But I did have someone say Maine, and I'm like, oh, all of the above. I think I'm just going to look at it as a grand adventure and, try out new cities around that I haven't experienced.
That would be really neat to try different places.
I know, right? Yeah. I'm just going to make the best of it. Here we go.
So look out for Allison in a city near you.
Yeah, I know, right? Kind of, where's Waldo? Where's she now? What's going on?
Thank you so much for sharing all of that. And I'm really happy that you're finding solutions. And again, thank you everybody in the audience too. It's really fun reading your comments and seeing what you guys are interested in. And a lot of you are really looking forward to a parasite deep dive. So I am very excited that Allison's going to be covering this today. Do you want to preface this conversation with anything or anything about your experiences, of maybe a recap of how you got into learning about treatment protocols? And
yeah, definitely. I do want to share because I've kind of shared bits and pieces, and I'd like to just give the whole story again. But my journey and how I discovered, and then how this whole thing kind of has evolved. started off with being very sick, but I didn't know why. It was a mystery illness. I could barely get out of bed. I felt terrible. And then I came down with just a horrendous rash. It was just awful. Like the most painful, terrible. It was just my skin was crawling, and it felt very alive. Being a medical intuitive, I felt a bug. I don't know how to say it. My skin was crawling. And what I did first, I thought, as I guess everybody would, I knew I have something on my skin. Where's it coming from? And I searched everything. I went immediately. The rash came on really fast and furious, and I went straight to the emergency room. I was in that much pain. And that was actually the best doctor. It wasn't an emergency room with a cop. It was one of those emergency clinics, on the corner. And that was the best doctor I saw the whole time. But she gave me a very heavy, big dose of ivermectin for my first time. And at the time when I got that, I was such a snob. I still am, but I hated pharmaceuticals. I would not take pharmaceuticals. I did everything I can to avoid them. I didn't trust the industry. I didn't trust what it was. I'm like, it's going to make me sicker. But anyways, I had this huge wall up against drugs. But when I got this rash, it was one of those situations where anything, what will help me? I don't care. Give me something to help. And so I went to the clinic and I got ivermectin, and then she also wanted to prescribe me a cream called Primrithyn, which my body didn't tolerate at all. But the ivermectin honestly worked as my very first dose, and I was just like, thank God. But what was happening, I didn't realize it at the time. At the time, I thought I had come into contact with something external, and it's on me. What was really happening, it was coming from within, and I was so doused with parasites that they were like leaving my body through these portals on the skin, but I thought they were coming from the outside. So it took me a while to kind of figure out what it was. And then, so I was so penetrated with parasites, the dose the doctor was giving me of ivermectin didn't even touch it. By that time, I guess you can kind of say stage 1 cancer, stage 4. I was all the way into 4. 1 or 2 doses wasn't going to cut it for me. And I kind of knew that because I'd get relief, and then a few weeks later, I needed it again. And I didn't even have a primary care physician at the time. I went back to the doctor a few times, the emergency clinic. She was really helpful. And finally, she's like, you can't come here because I'm not your doctor. You got to go find a doctor that will give you this medicine. And I was literally, it went from that to me going to doctors and begging for ivermectin, begging. It was the only way I could get relief. And I knew I needed it more. And the rash was worse during the full moon. And now I understand that's actually mating season. So they were more active. And I can remember going to a doctor being like, please, there's a full moon in 2 weeks. I've got to have this medicine. I was begging for it, and nobody would take me serious. Nobody would give it to me. They would give me like a 3 milligram pill, which the ivermectin will come in 3 milligrams, 6 milligram, and 12 milligram. And I probably needed a dose of 24 milligrams for like a month, because I was so infected at that point. But what also was happening, I was getting little bitty doses of ivermectin for a little while. And the rash was, I was just researching, trying to figure out how. And during this, it was so severe, I replaced all my floors to hardwoods because I thought maybe my house got infected. I had a dog. Did the dog bring something in? I replaced all my furniture, my sofa, all the soft seating. I replaced my mattress twice. How many doctors I went to, and how many, everything was out of pocket. It was just me searching like desperately for help from this rash. So I was getting ivermectin. I hadn't quite figured out how to get ivermectin without a doctor yet, but I was getting some of it. And what was happening during this time, here we go. This topic, you kind of have to talk about the whole flow of the body. But what was happening is I would use the restroom, and I would casually just kind of look into the toilet, and before I flushed, I would see that the stools looked differently than normal. And so after I would take ivermectin, I kind of looked, and what was happening was it was speckled. That sounds gross, but I would just kind of look at it, and I was like, well, that's strange, but I wouldn't think too much. I was just focused on my rash, and I was treating it. And again, this went on for, I don't even know how long. It could have been weeks or it could have been months that I would see a change in my stools, and I didn't associate it with the ivermectin for a while. Finally, I looked at what was the discoloration, and I was horrified to discover I learned it was a liver fluke, a parasite that I had been shedding hundreds for weeks of them. And I'm just like, oh my God, that's what it was. Like, I can't believe that. So then I started focusing on my liver and what's inside me and how did this come out? And it just kind of I started putting together the liver with the skin, because there's a connection in holistic medicine, like to treat the skin, you actually treat the liver. And after I went down this hole, I had liver flukes. And then I started, after I had noticed these flukes had been leaving my body for a few months, I started realizing, oh my gosh, I'm not in bed every day. I feel better. I have more energy. I'm not reacting to foods like I did in the past. And oh my gosh, those things were making me really, really sick. And so it went on from there. But that's kind of how I discovered I had parasites. And then that's when I knew I needed to do something about it.
Wow, that's amazing that you were able to figure that out. I feel that parasites are such a widespread issue that just is invisible to most people, because the symptoms, like you said, they don't arise like, oh, you can see something like slithering in your skin. It arises as like a rash or a digestive issue or some type of an issue with an organ or something else, and or just not feeling good, like feeling fatigued or feeling foggy. And those things all have like medical, if you go to a doctor, they're going to tell you that, oh, you just need this cream for a rash. You caught some type of a virus on your skin, or maybe you just have depression. If you're not feeling good, here's an antidepressant. Maybe you're not sleeping good if you're feeling fatigued, we need you to be able to do this or this or this. And so it's treated through symptoms versus like a root cause. And I love that your training growing up, like really conditioned you to like see things as symptoms and not as a final product, and that you were able to say, okay, there's something going on. What's the root? And like, you didn't accept any other answer. And so I just want to commend you for that, because I think it just is like so underlying in our society. And I bet if everybody went and got tested, the majority of people would have some type of parasite and be shocked. Like,
I know. I'm so sorry, but that's why we're talking about it, to help you. And
yes,
and it's so right. And in all of the list of symptoms, and I have a slide, we can actually play some slides, but the brain fog and the mind control and the MK Ultra, like they're infiltrating us with all of these micro and macro. Yeah, I had a ritual, and I think I encountered it during the ritual, but it's our food supply. It's everywhere. You can't escape it. And in the past and in other countries, they acknowledge that this is a health problem, and they keep regular schedules of doing this. This is so outrageous for us. Like, what? We're going to take some medicine once a month and we're going to expel parasites? Like, that's horrible. But it's actually been practiced for hundreds of years, literally. And it's a imperative for human health, I think.
Real quick too, before we go on the slideshow, because we mentioned ivermectin last time, for people wondering, because when COVID happened, that medication really came to the forefront. I don't think a lot of people had really heard of it until then, or at least never considered using it. What's the difference between there's a paste that is typically recommended for animals, but a lot of people will go and grab that just because you don't need a prescription for it. And then the prescription medication that you get from a medical professional. And should a human be using both, or do you recommend the prescription version?
Definitely the prescription version, or here's another one you can buy over the counter. I don't know if you can see it. It is the liquid. You don't have. It's called the injectable because it's injected in, but you can take it orally. So you can just put your dropper and take it in your mouth. But I think over the counter, this is the most pure, as opposed to the horse paste, which I have here. Here's a box of it. Right here, you can just buy it, ivermectin, this way. The problem with this is it's designed to be given in the mouth, and they put apple flavoring, and they put a bunch of different ingredients in it, so it's not as pure as this. And so they're going to have, and like during COVID, this was vilified. Like, oh, ivermectin's so dangerous, it's gonna kill you. Well, now it's over the counter. It's actually safer on your body than aspirin. It's very mild. It's not, if you get pure ivermectin, it's actually very easy to take. But this, anytime you get, like in your food supply, if you buy something that has 20 ingredients versus your 3 ingredients, this is your 20 ingredient bread. This is your 1 ingredient bread right here. Gotcha. But there's options. Yeah. Good question. Thank you.
No, thank you. I remember that came up, and there was people, because they were like banning and kind of outlawing ivermectin for a while. It was really hard to get. And people were like, go get the horse version, and then other people were like, no, it's not safe. And so I just want people to sort of know the difference. So if they're going to make an informed decision, they understand the differences.
So important. And I actually use all of them. I actually use the paste still, and I make my own skin cream out of it, because I find that it actually absorbs into the skin better. And so we'll get into that. We have a whole section on that. So
cool.
Yeah. But I do use the paste, and I also like the paste. Another part of the parasite is inside the mouth, where I literally am in, and if I'm spot treating, the paste kind of stickier than the liquid. And so I might do that inside the mouth, or like skin disorders. So I'll use the paste. So I do use it, but my preferred way to do it is the pill, because it's a tablet and it's so much easier. And then the liquid, if I'm taking it orally, I'll do those.
Gotcha. Thank you so much for explaining. That's really helpful. I didn't even know all of that. So that's great. And hopefully somebody else learned something. And so I'll bring this presentation up. Allison is so kind to provide us with a slideshow to just follow along with. So if you guys are watching, you guys can sort of see the footnotes on what we're talking about here.
And it's such a goofy presentation. It's not, but I just design it so I don't leave anything out, and it helps give me kind of a bookmark of, oh, I want to talk about this. I want to tell them about this. And so thank you for controlling that. Yes, the parasites, these people are sick. We're back to this message that I want to talk about. I think the message is for everybody, but specifically I'm talking about survivors, and I sure hope nobody else was implanted. But if you were, this is for you. And this is meant to, I got to a place where I feel like I was going to die if I didn't get help, and I didn't know how to get help. And in fact, this is so funny, because I thought of this the other day. During my darkest time, it was when I was trying to clean my house, and I was crawling. I felt I couldn't go anywhere because I felt like I was going to give somebody this, and it was just a terrible moment. And it was during 2022, during the holiday season. It literally took me to my knees, and it was a dark, dark moment. And I asked God for help. I had one of those, let's talk to God, and, please show me how to heal. I don't know what to do, and I don't know where to go. Doctors were ridiculing me. And I told God, I said, listen, if you show me the answer, I will make it my mission to tell others about it. And I'm laughing right now because here I am. I never thought I would have had a platform to talk about parasites, and you've given me that platform. So thank you. I'm answering a prayer that I a promise that I made to God in 2022.
So okay. Wonderful. I'm happy that we have these different tools, and it's just really, you know, I think a lot of survivors and targeted individuals are waking up to the fact that they've been infected somehow, whether deliberately by the cult or it's just something that happened as a result of maybe eating rotten food or being, you know, just in the depths of depravity where parasites live, and getting them, you know, in a naturally occurring way from a non-natural environment, you know. And I think the confusion around, well, what do I do now, is really difficult for people, and they don't know where to look. And there's so many sources. If you look online, there's all these like gurus, it's their way or no way, do this, do that. And I love that your approach is like really well-rounded. You've looked at it from so many different angles. You didn't just pick or partner with one different way. You've like really done your research. You've tried everything. And it's going to be fun going through all these products with you, you know, and just discovering some of the ways that the cult uses these things as weapons.
Thank you. And I'm definitely not an expert, but I have tried everything, I think, where I'm like, well, let's share best practices. But why in the world would they implant us with parasites? How horrendous is that? It's all about control and power, you know, that same thing. But the scariest thing to me about parasites, there's so many things, but is the thought control. I think this plays a big part of MK Ultra. It's so, like, you know, you might have millions infiltrated of nanotechnologies in your blood, and it kind of could be like a radio station that's, you know, it helps you pick up that, but it also can control our emotions, anxiety, depression, you know, suicidal thoughts. Like, it actually, the voice of God, it's coming from, they do have a frequency, and I can tell it this, when I take a strong dose, we'll get into it later, but my philosophy is you prep your body for it, you attack, you go strong, you kill them, and then you work on flushing. At the time that I kill, emotionally, I can tell it. I will have more anxiety, I will have more depression, I will have I can feel the die off. It's emotionally, I can feel it. And also they want to control, because sick people are easier to control than healthy people. And if they've just committed a crime on you, and then you're so sick, all you're going to talk about is being sick, you're not going to notice the crime. So that's another one. Disfigurement, that's a terrible one, but I actually suspect they are implanting these in faces to create disfigurement. I've actually seen several, and some of them are in the news, where you can kind of see at the worst part of it. I haven't talked about this. My lip was 3 times bigger than my lower lip was 3 times bigger than my upper lip. And so I think it was almost what I was like afraid of, is I felt like I was getting a Bubba Gump shrimp. You know, Forrest Gump, the character Bubba Gump had that really big lip. And but I think there are a lot of ways that disfigurement can happen. Discredit, they're going to discredit us any way they can. And death, they're trying to kill us. What a great cowardly way to kill somebody. You slip them something, and then 2 years later they die, and no one ever knows it's you. And so these sick people, there's a lot of sick reasons why they do this, but those are a few that I just thought I'd throw up there.
One thing I wanted to bring up that this reminded me of, I don't want to show it on screen because it might be a little bit triggering for people, just because it is kind of gross. But there were these videos that went viral a few years ago where there was these different insects, and one that stands out to me is a praying mantis. There was a video of a praying mantis that was just like walking around, and then all of a sudden, like, it started to collapse, and there was a parasite that literally came out of its end, and the parasite died, and then the praying mantis died, and you could see that the only reason why it was alive was because there was a host inhabiting its body, like wearing the body of a praying mantis as like a full body mask.
Yeah.
And it was a parasite. The praying mantis wasn't even alive, but it looked completely alive. It looked completely real. But you could see how the parasite host completely controlled it and made itself appear to be the praying mantis. And then whenever it crawled out, the body of the praying mantis just like collapsed. And I was like, holy crap, I can't
I
believe how
know.
powerful these things are. But I'm sure it's very similar in humans. You know, they might not be as big as our body where one can come in and inhabit our whole body. But if you think about if that can be done to an insect, it can literally like kill an insect from the inside out and then wear its body and parade around as if it's the praying mantis. I can only imagine what it's doing to us if there's tons of those in our body.
Exactly. Yeah. And exactly. And it's bad if there's tons of it in our body accidentally, but what if they've been put in there by design for a reason? And I haven't seen the praying mantis video, but I saw a video of a beetle where that same thing happened.
Oh, yeah.
And then I saw a video of a bear that literally had like a 20-foot parasite behind it. Like, it was so gross. Yeah, it was outrageous. So yeah, they're all over. Like, I can't encourage you more to take this, all the users, take it seriously and take action. And have I told the story of the doctor from the 1800s that had 3 types of patients?
I don't think so. No.
And I thought it was interesting. So before the Rockefeller medicine kind of took over our medical practice, it was everybody cleansed once a month. And there was a doctor that once it became out of fashion to cleanse once a month, he kept a journal of all of his patients. And he labeled them into 3 different categories. He'd ask them, how often do you parasite cleanse? And, every month I do it regardless. I'm never going to stop doing that. And then he had a group of patients that would answer occasionally, I do it sometimes when I think about it, maybe a couple times a year. And then he had a group of patients that I never deparasite, not out in there. And he has it all charted on the health of the patients. The ones that never did it were the sick ones. They died early. The ones that sometimes did it were they had a few things. And by far, the people that were the healthiest, no cancer, no heart attacks, no dementia, Alzheimer's, that's a new thing. I don't even think they used to have that back then. But anyways, the people that took it seriously and did it once a month were by far healthier individuals.
Whoa, that's pretty groundbreaking. That's interesting.
I know. I thought it was very interesting too. So I will always do this once a month. I'm convinced now that it's a part of our health journey that we need to take serious.
And just to validate you too, real quick, some people might be new to this podcast, and welcome if you are. Over the years, however, the last 6+ years, there have been countless survivors of government mind control, of ritual abuse, of satanic ritual abuse, of child sex trafficking in an organized way, like how Allison has outlined her abuse network was, that were injected deliberately with parasites. And it was a memory that they had recalled and were very lost on. Like, why would they have done that? That was such a weird, like, ritualistic thing that they did. They forced me, like, they tied me down and like injected parasites into my body. And they remember that happening as children or as teenagers, but it comes up over and over and over again. So for the survivor community, especially, for everybody, of course, it's important, but for the topic of this podcast, which is, talking more about these different abuse networks and their control methods, this might be a missing link for some survivors listening. It might not be. You might already have cleansed yourself, or maybe this wasn't part of something that you went through. But I've also heard a lot of survivors that were able to connect dots from hearing testimonies like Allison's, and they're like, oh, maybe that's what's going on with me. I have all these symptoms. Doctors can't help me, which is Allison said last time. Doctors don't test you for parasites. That's not part of their protocol. So it could be kind of flying under the radar for some people. So I hope that this is really informative, for the general public, and especially for survivors listening who might be dealing with mystery illnesses like Allison did. Like, that can be so debilitating.
I think thank you for saying that. And it's so important. In fact, I heard from one of our viewers, and she said, I think I have this. And she said, my symptoms are, I have an extremely bloated gut belly. And she said, it's so bloated that I keep going up in my clothes, but I'm losing weight. And so she said, and then she had severe constipation, and she had eczema, again, skin illness. And I said, and I think brain fog goes with this. And if you listen, I always bring him up, but man, I wish I could have gotten a hold of Mr. David Wilcock, but he actually will say those same things. I was constipated, and again, it's kind of embarrassing to talk about constipation, but I actually think these freaks, the parasites, are so intelligent. I don't know. They can literally stop the flow of our food so that they can have it. I think for me, it was my small intestine that was very compromised, and food would not flow. I could eat, and it would literally, I couldn't eat for 3 more days. Like, it was really strange, but I can't remember why I went off on that, but that was a user. Oh, I do know why. Because the user, if she goes to the doctor, I'm bloated, I'm constipated, I have this horrible rash, he'll treat each one separately. And if we look at it as a whole, this is more than likely she has the classic symptoms of parasite.
Wow. That's really fascinating. And that's awesome. You're able to connect that dot for her. I hope she's doing better now, or at least feeling like she can have some control over the problem. And that's what we want. We don't want
yeah.
We want you to feel empowered to be able to heal yourself.
Exactly. And the hardest, okay, so for everybody watching, the parasite, if you are overwhelmed with parasites, more than likely you're either going to have extreme irritable bowel syndrome, like extreme diarrhea, or you're going to have constipation. And if you're in between the two, like, those aren't fun, but between the two, the constipation is the hardest, because when you take these medicines and the parasites start to die off, it's so important for them to get out of your body quickly. And if your body is completely stopped and not getting rid of waste properly before, it actually makes it even harder. But we'll talk more about that. But I just wanted to bring it up a little bit.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Let me go to...
Okay, we'll go to the next page.
Here we go.
Like we've kind of talked about, our food supply is messed up. Are they doing this to us in ritual? Like that, actually, when I heard you say that people have remembered being this during the ritual, that was a huge aha moment for me, because it was just a hunch. Like, I think this happened during the ritual. It makes sense to me, but I didn't know. And to hear other people have gone through it, it's, again, that's why all of us talking is so important. My hunch that how they invaded me during the ritual, I think my ritual had 3 was significant, everything in 3s. And I think I think it was in a spray in my nose. I think I was forced ingested, and I think I was injected inside my mouth by them.
That's horrific.
Horrible. Yeah.
I've heard it all different ways too, so I don't doubt that they've refined ways to put it in a spray, that they have actual, even injections that they could put in a vein. An ingestion through the mouth seems to be, forced ingestion through the mouth seems to be the most common way that I've heard, but it seems like they've found really sophisticated ways to get these in the body.
Yeah, I think so. And also, like, when we have all these virus outbreaks, it could be like people spraying our food, it could be people, there's the outbreak. We're going to talk about it in a minute, but there's so many ways. I actually, one time felt a mist come down on me when I was in a woman's bathroom stall. And somebody had reached over the stall, and I felt a spray, a mist. And I think about that all the time. It's horrifying. I was actually on a rest stop, on a trip. But I'm like, what was that? And I did get horrible COVID after that. And so again, I don't know, but that really happened. So we kind of my parasite journey, of course, I'm not a doctor. This isn't medical advice, but when all the symptoms have failed you, and if your only option is, I got to do this because no one else will help me, it's kind of, I wrote just us, justice. Like, that's why I'm speaking out. I just want to help, but I'm not an expert, but I want to share what I've done that's helped me.
Bless you. Thank you for sharing, Allison.
Thank you.
Oh
my
God,
gosh. In the news, we're hearing explosive diarrhea in the news. like really, and it's a parasite. They don't know really where it's come. I hear from different places, like Taco Bell first, and then maybe like a lettuce, and then like thousands of people are getting the cysclose paralysis. I don't know. They're calling it the diarrhea parasite, really, in the news. And kind of it's a good, but at least it's an awareness, we're coming in. But if you come in contact that, what's your survival guide? That's what I wanted to kind of talk about. Like, if like you come down quickly and you're like, oh my God, I really need help. Y'all might have heard it. This isn't ivermectin. This is, let's see, I don't know if you can see it, chlorine dioxide. And what this is it's a water treatment process. And it's like part A and part B. So you literally will get your glass and you put part A in it here. And then you you activate it with part B. You just get that and you put about 10 drops in water. And then once the 2 drops mix, that's when the mixture becomes activated. And it's very safe. This is what people will take camping to treat river water, or like they keep it as an emergency. Like if there's, I don't know, some water crisis or in emergency situations, people have this. But it's also a great disinfector to drink. It's 100, not harmless, but the chemical actually evaporates and just turns into salt in the body. It does smell like bleach, which that's kind of scary, but it's not harmful. And this is like a supersonic disinfector. You can literally feel it going through your veins as you drink it. I usually start sneezing when I take it, but if I was or someone I loved had this explosive diarrhea, I would do a dose of this, and then I would start with ivermectin, HCQ. That is the malaria medicine that's given for parasites. It's also super easy on the body. It's not a harmful one. And then zinc and vitamin C. So those are 4 kind of things to keep in your emergency arsenal if you feel like, oh my God, I've just gotten COVID. That's actually a great protocol for COVID, all those things right there. Or this horrible diarrhea parasite, or anything else. It's a good fast, like I need something emergency, I've been ingested, or if I take this, if I know I'm coming down with a cold, when you can kind of feel it, you're like, oh my gosh. And I think it eliminates it. I don't get sick very often from a cold anymore.
That's so helpful. I was telling Allison too, for you guys listening that are wondering, well, oh my gosh, I've never heard of some of this stuff, or where can I get it? Obviously these things can be found all over different places. So what I was going to have Allison do for us is create kind of a master list of where she personally sources her stuff. And you guys can at least have a link to go look at a version of it. And then you can know what to go Google if you need something different, or if in your area, or if you're in a different country and need to find it from a different source. You guys can at least have some information on what it is and what to look for. And so we'll put together maybe an article for you guys linking all of these products. That way you guys can actually go and find them quick and easy instead of searching everywhere.
Yes. Yeah, we'll definitely do that. That'll make it a lot easier.
This slide is just so funny whenever I was going through it. Explosive.
explosive diarrhea, really? Oh my gosh. But they're talking about parasites, like getting it out there.
They
But
are.
how in the world do we start this? Like, just how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? Don't try to do it all right, and don't try to do everything at the same time. Just start somewhere, start small, and it'll progress. But the purpose, obviously, for the protocol is to remove parasites from our body. Before you do that, the most important is to have a highly functioning liver, a clean colon, and constipation is a big problem. So if you have chronic constipation, just know you might want to fast ahead of time. You know, there might be things that you will need to do just to prep your body. There is a fast I absolutely love when it comes to the liver. It's called Andrew Mort's Amazing Liver and Gall Flush. I would recommend doing this flush before you start taking the high powered medicines because, again, when you take the medicine, you want those toxins to leave the body. And this flush is actually really easy. You drink apple juice for 2 or 3 days, and then on one day let's see how it goes. You will drink a mixture. So after the apple juice will get the liver ducts softened because of the ingredient called malic acid, and so it softens everything to get ready for the flush. And then you drink the flush. You drink a cup of, like, a half a cup of olive oil and a half a cup of citrus, like lemon or grapefruit, and just drink it down. And then after you drink that, you drink a series of Epsom salts and water, like 2 or 3 doses of that. There's a time schedule, and there's a book on this, but you can also get on the internet and it'll give you step-by-step instructions. But after the Epsom salt, the whole process takes about 12 hours when you're doing it. But after you drink the Epsom salts, your liver will expel like these cholesterol pieces in the thousands. They look like little gum things. I kind of think, seed oil isn't supposed to be in our diet. I'm wondering if this is that they just look like chewing gum. They're bright yellow and bright green, and you could let go of 100 of them, but they've been in your liver and they're clogging it up. You know what it looks like is, have you ever seen a picture of like a fatty liver, how it's all polka dotted?
Yeah.
I kind of wonder if these little bally things are in our liver. I don't know where they are, but when you do this instantly, what you'll notice the following week afterwards, your skin will be brighter, your eyes will be brighter, you'll have more energy, and the best thing is you'll be able to purge the chemicals from your body after you take them, and getting rid of the parasites. It will help you. I think we're good on that one. I think we can. Oh, increasing fiber to start and monitoring the number twos. I wrote that in there. Before you do this, so I think in Chinese medicine, when you go to the doctor, the very first place they're going to look is your stools to see how healthy you are and how not healthy you are. And if you're going to be doing a hardcore and taking this parasite flush, you have to get used to looking at the stools afterwards to see what's in them, see where you're going, and see. They'll diagnose everything for you. They'll give you a wealth of information. And if you're a chronic constipation person, it would be good to eat a food. I like pineapple when I'm trying to like get my system cleaned out. Like I might fast on pineapple for a day or two because I want to see my time frame of when I eat to when it comes out of my body. I know that sounds weird. And you kind of do need to start practicing looking so you can identify and how I look. It took me a while to figure that out, so I'm going to share it with everyone. But I just keep wooden, like long, like those, not like popsicle sticks, but they're big ones, the big wooden popsicle sticks. And by my commode, I have a container of those. I keep wet cloths and I keep little baggies. And so after I go to the bathroom, I'll get the wooden sticks and I look directly in the bowl because I don't want to touch anything and I don't want to remove it from the bowl to look. So I just kind of take the sticks and I look around, and then I clean the sticks, put them in the bag, and throw them away. But that works the best for me, and at least I'm able to see what's going on. It gives me kind of a monitoring.
That's a good tip, because I could see people being like, how am I supposed to do that? Especially
How
if they like, sink to the
exactly?
bottom of the toilet or like, yeah.
Right. I know. We definitely, I mean, it's not, it's a, you know, and you can get that poopery smell stuff, spray the thing. So it's not so stinky if you're looking, but, yeah, but it's really an important step. You won't know what you're doing. I can't tell you how many times I've just glanced and looked and I thought, oh, normal, nothing really, came through, and then I started looking and I just was amazed at what actually was leaving my body. And you never will know just by glancing. You won't know.
And then real quick too, before I move to the next slide, for the increased fiber part, there's obviously supplements that people can take that are supposed to be loaded with fiber. Do you recommend a supplement, or should somebody be looking more at whole foods such as like fibrous vegetables or fruits, naturally occurring fibers, versus like I don't even want to say artificial, because some of the products that you can get are actually, organic and holistic and made from whole foods. But what would you say would be the best way somebody could get fiber?
Really, just I think it individually what makes sense for you. Like,
Okay.
to me, I like eating real food versus artificial. It's just my preference. And then I also need to eat something that's going to be enjoyable. I can't eat just a can of beans or, like what's not so hard to get down, in my system. And for me, pineapple is good. And pineapple, you don't digest it all. So you actually will see the fiber come out. And that's actually, to me, I like to have that recognition, because again, it kind of gives me my time frame. It gives me where I am, and I'll know how my body's cleansing.
Great tip. Okay, let's move this down. Here we go.
Okay, so going the pharmaceutical route, these are kind of my top go-tos of medicine, and we've talked a little bit about them before. I wanted to show you the ivermectin tablets. I don't know if you can kind of see. This is just like a little tablet, and you just punch it out, and it's just a teeny little, like an aspirin. It's so teeny. I don't know if you can even see it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and this is 12 milligram is my go-to. I usually will do 12 a day. If I'm really needing to push it, or I feel something, I'll do 24 milligrams. But I don't do any more than that. But this was when I was in the 2022 begging for it. I'd get like a 3 milligram, and I'm like, it's not enough. You need something a little stronger. But the ivermectin, I prefer taking it this way. My second favorite way to do it would be the liquid injectables here. And I buy this at Tractor Supply. This little bottle is like $48. And if you have like your dropper, you can get your dropper, and it's 30 drops is 12 milligrams. But you can get online. There's all sorts of charts, and I'll put charts in there so you can test it for your weight. I'm about 145, so that gives me my weight. If you're more, you're going to take more. If you're less, you're going to take less. So you'll have to kind of chart your weight there. And just, little dropper, this is easy. So if you were just going to use this as your medicine, this is about 20 doses. So it'll give you you could have this for a pretty good long time. It's not just one dose, I guess I should say. And then here is the paste. It comes in a box, kind of like this. They have a lot of different brands, and sometimes brands have been caught having shady ingredients in there. This brand is called Dervit, which it's the more expensive, and I think it's the more it has never had like a recall on it that I know of, but I think it's a little bit more reliable. A lady that has horses told me that. But how it works is it's like you have this system, and on the stick it has little like weight increments all the way up here, and it's like this is enough medicine for 1,200 pounds. So you just put your little thing at your weight. Uh, okay, like right here. This is for a 200-pound. Again, it's for animals, so you have to remember it's it's marketed for animals, but it can be great medicine for humans as well. So you just kind of find your weight on there, and then give it a push, and it comes out.
Okay.
Like that. You can kind of see. It's clear. It's just like a gel. It's just kind of like toothpaste. It's not there, and it's supposed to. It has like a teeny yellow color, which is normal. You wouldn't want to. You'd want it to be clear or slightly yellow, or I think white. But if I remember one time, one came out that was it like brown, or it was like a really weird color, and it was a bogus batch that was discovered going around. You kind of wonder these super healing medicines where I feel like ivermectin specific, it won the Nobel Peace Prize. It could heal so many people. I think there's again the dark agenda. This is light versus dark, so they're going to try to vilify what is super good and healing. But those are kind of the three. There's also, you can buy the ivermectin cream, and during like my worst time, I'm not kidding, I went and got a doctor to finally prescribe me. They wouldn't want to do it, but they prescribed me the ivermectin cream. I took it to the pharmacy, and I'm not kidding, it was $700. They don't want you to have it anyways. Yes, so you can make your own cream. Let's talk about that. What you'll do is you just take the paste, and you will just mix it with lotion. I like to melt coconut oil and mix this together and use the coconut oil. But if you're using it for lotion, make sure to still stay in or around the weight. Don't like do the whole thing, because the skin is your greatest organ. You're going to be, uh, uh, it will get into your bloodstream. So if you do like too much here, I honestly have done too much ivermectin before, and it's I've actually taken, I think I took 60 milligrams one time, and I could tell, whoa, that's too much, but it didn't do anything terrible to me. So the cream, the paste, the liquid, and then the capsules. And I think I told you in the past, you can get a doctor to prescribe these. If you're lucky enough to live in Texas, I think this is over the counter now. A lot of states have the legislation to go out over the counter. And then, so that's kind of a lowdown of ivermectin. These are the prescription drugs that, there's three really, that the ivermectin, and I like to mix that with the minbindazole. We'll call it minbin. And then sometimes I throw in the praziquantel, and I'll kind of get to that. But the minbindazole, I'm going to kind of pull up the slide again. Can you make it big so I can look at it? Thank you. Okay, so if you kind of see up at the top, minbindazole, benbindiazole, and albendazole. There's three different separate medicines. So here is, I keep changing the side. I'll try not to show you too much, but here is benbin, that you can get the same like the paste for the ivermectin.
Okay.
If you were like, you're in pain and you're desperate, you need help, the easiest and fastest and cheapest way to get help is to go to Tractor Supply and buy these two things. Both, this is less than $30, I think, maybe 35, maybe 40, but two very, very powerful medicines that will help you. These two medicines are now curing cancer left and right: breast cancer, colon cancer, prostate cancer. Like, so many people are taking these and finding remarkable healing. So you can look, there are so many testimonials, and I'll actually do a link of a site with just testimonials of people using these two things. So super healing. So on the fenbendazole, I know I'm saying that wrong, so I'm sorry in advance, but the menbendazole, fenbendazole, alabendazole are all basically the same one. You wouldn't take all three of them. Pick one and mix it with the ivermectin. My preference is the menbendazole. I just, for all medicine, I like to go to the oldest available. I always feel like kind of if it was released, it's the most pure. But another side note, I want to bring this up because I found it so interesting, and I haven't done a deep dive, but just enough that I'm like, there's something to this. When I read a ton of white papers on the subject, and I was so scared the first time I took these drugs. I was like, oh, I didn't know they were going to be gentle. I thought, oh, this is terrible. I'm harming myself, but I didn't have to. I wasn't harming myself, but I thought I was. So I did a ton of white paper studies. I read research and research and research. And I saw that if a study was in another country, they call these drugs chemotherapy drugs. I couldn't believe it. Yeah. I think,
Wow.
there's could be a connection to cancer and parasites. And I thought, wow, that's telling if these are early. I don't really know that for a fact, but I know when I was reading white papers, that's the class that they would call these drugs in different countries. So it's the ivermectin, and I prefer the menbendazole. I get the better results. I get a tablet, and I prefer taking my medicine in a tablet over a paste because it's just more precise. It's easier mentally. I like it better. And that is an older drug that I can look at all the success rates, and it's actually very little side effects, and that's just the one I prefer to take. So I will take the ivermectin tablet and the menbendazole. I've taken fenben and I've taken the other one, and they're both easy. I get results, and they're good. HCQ, that's the I can never say that one, and I can't read it exactly.
Hydroxychloroquine.
Thank you. And it's a malaria drug, and it's another anti-parasitic drug that has revolutionized, humanity. They've really given a good gift. They're safe. I use that one as well. It's kind of like my secondary line of defense, and then the one that I use is praziquantel. It's one more, and that one is because I have the parasite schistosomiasis, and that's one of the only anti-parasitic drugs that actually can treat that one in the life cycles. It's the strongest, and it's a broad spectrum, and they have a paste. Actually, if this is like if I'm speaking to you and resonating, I get my praziquantel from a website that it's ivermectin 24, and I can actually order it. I think technically it's a prescription only, but this website offers a lot of them that are prescription only, and that's the route I chose to take to get these medicines for myself. But they do have this is the ivermectin one. If you go to Tractor Supply, if there's one of those in your area, they have one that is ivermectin and praziquantel, so you can get your hands on it immediately without going to a doctor or.
Interesting. One thing I wanted to ask about this, and then I know we're going to go over some herbal remedies.
Yeah.
Are there restrictions that you know of, say if somebody's pregnant or if there's maybe a disease that could inhibit results or have a negative reaction? Do you know anything off the top of your head? I know that you've been doing this for yourself and maybe haven't, this isn't something that like you're working with patients with. Like you said, it's not medical advice, but just for anybody listening, are there any restrictions that you know of for any of these things?
Not that I know of. The praziquantel is the one where I'm like, ooh, be very careful on that one. The other ones I feel like are super safe and gentle. literally, ivermectin, I would compare it to an aspirin. It's actually pretty easy. I know when you talk to doctors, there's a lot of fear porn out there, like, oh, they're scary, they're gonna kill you. But just, do your research, make your own judgment. I have found them to be ultra gentle on me. The only one that's harsh is praziquantel, and I don't. I'll make sure I'm really careful when I do that one.
And then also, to my other question, for people who wanted to do some type of a detox using all of these and a cleanse,
Mm-hmm.
is there a chance that this could interfere with, say, work if somebody can't make it to the bathroom often, or if they're in their car for a long time? Should somebody prepare to do this on, say, like a long weekend or a day whenever they can have off work and maybe have a few days? What would you recommend for people who might have a busy schedule?
It's a great question. Honestly, as you're taking them, you probably won't, like day one, or I have in a slide coming up, I kind of have it charted like day one, day
Okay.
2. I don't know. What's the next one? No, that's not, we'll get to that. But when, you're going to feel emotionally bad when you, like day 2 or 3 of taking the medicine. And then it's the herc. When they start dying off is when you're going to feel bad. I've never had explosive diarrhea from cleansing. I've never had to be close. I haven't felt 100%, but I've never felt like I can't get out of bed or I have to hide from myself. I'm not all there. The worst thing I think is a headache, and that's coming from the die off of the parasin, because your body is going to, as you kill the parasites, they release toxins in your body that you feel bad. And so it's called herxine reaction. And so it's a secondary reaction to the parasite cleansing. You're not going to feel bad from the medicine. You'll feel bad from the die off. But one thing that this does for me, and I'm trying to, again, I'm going to give all my personal advice, because if you have this, but when I take it, my ability to go to the bathroom shuts down. I just goes on lockdown. I'm not kidding. At one time after a cleanse, it took me 9 days to be able to go. I ended up going into the emergency room because I couldn't go to the bathroom, and I felt so bad. So, and then of course the doctors aren't helpful at all. They just dismissed me and told me to go get some Marilax at the drugstore. I'm like, oh, thanks. $10,000 later, okay. But just the journey. You will have symptoms. That was an extreme symptom, and since that time, I always have senna tea afterwards to stimulate my colon. That'll help.
And have you noticed, does that work really good? Have you ever had an instance where it was almost a medical emergency since getting that tea?
No, not at all. Well, no. And actually now I will start working on elimination before it becomes a problem. Like that's part of my, I have the prep, I have the kill, and then I have the flush. The flush is very important about activating my colon, getting everything out. Before I would just take the medicine and think that was it. I now have kind of extended my protocol to a lot of lemon juice. I drink lemon juice, diatomaceous earth, and baking soda afterwards. That's another one. I think I have that on the slide coming up. You can kind of move. I think we're ready to go. Let's talk about these natural remedies. I do stick to the pharmaceuticals. I found that those are the most bang for your buck. When you take those, you're going to see results. I see results in these too, but I do the medicine, and then I do these. I'll take 2 or 3 days to take the prescription, and then the rest of the month, the 30 days, I'm on these. So I do take them, but not always at the same time. But cloves, black walnut hulls, wormwood, and a lot of times you can find one supplement with all 3 of those things in there. And just kind of trying to share funny stories of this whole journey. I had a little wormwood tincture in a black bottle, and there's been so many desperate moments. You're just like throwing spaghetti at the wall. Like, how do I get help? And so I had one of those bottles, and I would, had like a dose on the side that I do my little drops. And it just didn't seem worth it. And I was just kind of like, I guess I was just having a day. I made a vodka martini, or a little glass of vodka, maybe like an ounce of vodka. And I poured half of the bottle of wormwood in there, and I just took a shot of it. But I'm not kidding. That was very powerful. And maybe that actually worked wonders. I was like, hey, this is a new thing. I don't know. Maybe the alcohol was a good carrier for it. I was like, hey, that's good. But there's been a lot of humorous moments like that where I stumble into like help. But the clove, the black walnut, the wormwood, oregano oil is fantastic. I love that one as well. Make sure to get the gel caps. Don't try to take it. It'll burn like crazy. And garlic. I love garlic. That's a powerful one. And there's also kind of a teeny thing within garlic called Allison, believe it or not. ALL, like ICIN or something. And if you can isolate that compound from the garlic, that's, I think, the part that is really potent and good.
Your story about your martini reminds me, I had a survivor on my podcast who she, I think, was pretty close to homeless. She had like no money. She just escaped the cult. She realized she had parasites, and she said she took like a shot of tequila and she mixed something with it. But she said it went away. Like it killed.
Yes.
And she talked about it on my show. She's like, so if you need a quick fix,
I've been hearing that. And it's a new thing.
Go ahead and drink. But I heard tequila is a good it's good for parasite cleansing. So kind of funny.
That's awesome. And wouldn't that be so fun? Let's just take some shots of tequila. Like, I love that. But what's so interesting about tequila is they have that worm in the bottle, and you wonder, is this like a known fact? Have they? I actually was talking to a man. He was from Mexico, and we were talking about raw milk. I was passionate about raw milk for a long time until then the parasites. And then I'm like, did I get the parasites in the raw milk? Blah, blah, blah. But anyways, I was talking to him about it, and he said every single day before we went to work, or like at work, everybody would start off with their raw milk, tequila, and agave and drink it. And that was their daily, like, get up and go. Or maybe they put it in their coffee, raw milk, coffee, and tequila was in it too. I just thought that was fascinating because cultures, we have known how to be healthy. We've gotten so away from our basics, but I think possibly tequila could be anti-parasitic. And how great is that? And I'm not kidding. I've experimented with that. Been like trying, like, okay, I get to take a shot of tequila for breakfast. This is fun. But I don't know very much about it, but I do know it's a thing. And I think it's really cool. And, there's not one way to get rid of them. There's a bunch.
Yes, 100%. So kind of funny.
I know, kind of funny.
Feedback on that. I'd be curious to see the, any comments if people have tried stuff, or even, on a budget, if you've had to do an alcohol cleanse for parasites, that doesn't work. And what did you guys do?
Exactly. And I think my alcohol, like my wormwood martini, came from a point of somewhat of a method to my madness. Isn't there, I think wormwood is a specific kind of alcohol called like absinthe or something. Anyways, I think wormwood does have its own alcohol. And I was like thinking, I think back in the day, the bartender was kind of like the tincture, and you wonder if that has medicine properties, how did it evolve? And so I think that's what I was trying to go for, was the tincture of that. Anyways, I had a nice martini, and it didn't taste that great, but it was fun. It served its purpose. Okay.
Well,
so
too, real quick, I take my dog to a holistic vet, and this isn't a parasite, but it is an insect. Fleas and ticks for dogs. Wormwood is a natural repellent that you can give your dog instead of a pill from the veterinarian. It's a holistic way you can try to combat flea and ticks, which
Yes.
carry, disease and parasites and can infect your dog. So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of interesting too, that it has the word worm in it, like you were saying tequila bottles do.
Right, exactly. I think it is very interesting. Wormwood, and obviously they found out that's, hundreds and thousands of years ago, this wood cures those worms, and that's how, hence the name.
We need people in like mass droves of helicopters that can carry, or like planes that can carry spray things. And we just need to like load up parasitic cleanses and like go pour it over like the White House and like all these evil places. Kill off all the parasites.
I know. And also that's so interesting. We could talk about this forever, but yeah, I kind of wonder about all of these things that have infiltrated our body, and like, or these chemtrails. Is that where, you think a chemtrail over a water treatment plant, or, how have they gotten us? I know the ritual, obviously, but there's a bunch of different ways that it's kind of there.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's go. We're going to do it. We've gotten our whole plan up together, and it's the prep. It's going to be strong medicine, and then we're going to flush. We're going to recalculate, and we do this over and over again. So the prep, I love that liver cleanse. If I recommend, that takes like 3 days, because you drink apple juice for a few, but you're going to prepare your body to get ready. And again, the biggest thing is just to get rid of these toxins. One of the die-off is so gross, but you want them out of your body, because a lot of times the medicine will just stop them or slow them down or make them sick, and then they don't get removed from the body, and then they just kind of revive themselves. So we're trying to get them out of our body as quick as possible. And they are putting out all sorts of toxins, a lot of heavy metals when they're dying, a lot of eggs, unfortunately. I think there's when you talk about this, it could be science fiction. It's so gross. But I think one of their defense mechanisms is when they die, the host or the parasite inside your body, there's an egg sac that will get released. So if that one dies, there'll be thousands more to come. And so that's a scary thing, but I wanted everybody to know. So it's not a one and done. You have to, if you are choosing to go this route, make sure to continue it. Do it monthly afterwards, because one cleanse might have gotten a lot of the adults, but then you'll have a lot more offspring. And so just make sure you continue the route that you're on. And then at least 10 days. When you take the medicine, you might see things coming out as a result from that medicine for up to 30 days. I don't take the medicine and then the next day think, oh, nothing happened. That didn't work. It actually takes some time to actually see everything, because it's not just our digestive tract. We have a lot of parasites in our digestive tract, but we have them in our feet, in our muscles, in our heart, in our brain. Like, they're everywhere. And to kill takes time, and then to get the body to actually pull it out and dispose of it takes time. So just a lot of times I start these things and I just want to go as hard and as strong as possible. But make sure to stop and do the flushing part and then restart it. It actually is a cycle. You can't just, and if you do take it and then all of a sudden you feel terrible. Sometimes I've had lower back pain, and I think it's a lot of the toxins leaving my body, headaches, low energy. But a lot of times, if I'm trying to take the medicine for 2 or 3 days, I might have a plan where I want to go for 4 or 5 days, but don't wait until you feel bad to stop the medicine, because if you feel bad and then you keep taking it, you're going to feel worse. And so just be patient, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Great advice. I think people do get frustrated easily, and then they think that it's not working and don't understand these things take time. It's not a pill like what we're used to getting from a doctor, where it just a symptom might be gone quick or masked quick. This is you're getting to the root of the problem, and the root of the problem didn't happen overnight. It took time for these symptoms to appear in your body, and it's going to take time for them to go and leave. And it's going to, these are living creatures, and there tends to be a lot of them, and they don't just, they're very resilient. Like, they can literally live in a body that has food and is going through things and, functioning, and they're living and thriving, and, they're very resistant to dying. So that's really good advice, to just be patient. And I appreciate you sharing that, Allison, because I think a lot of people quit too early on this because they're not seeing a result the next day.
Yeah. Like you will start seeing results, and just be patient. It's go slow. And I was gonna say something, but okay. So the flush is really the most important part. The afterwards, when you're getting all of this out of your body, I absolutely. Let me see if I can find it. I was going to. Oh, right here. This is the weirdest. You want to put me on the thing? Okay, Mimosa pudica seed. It's a weird name, and it's a weird this is a seed from, I think it's the Venus flytrap. Those weird plants that like close on the flies.
Yeah.
And they're in like a capsule form, kind of like that. And it doesn't get absorbed into your bloodstream. This will only stay in your digestive tract. And if you buy some, before you take it, just drop it in water and see what it looks like. But it's like a piece of chewing gum or something. It's going to go through I take it afterwards, and it goes through, and anything that is dead, or it grabs the parasites. Anything, it's almost like a scrub or something. It just goes through your system, and anything that's not supposed to be there, it grabs and it takes it out of your body. And I kind of like the things that you get to see instant results, but I'm warning you, you're going to see, if you take ivermectin and then some Mimosa pudica seed, you're going to see some science fiction. Like, it's going to happen. But that's a really great natural after the flush. Also, another one that I love, again, I love to protect my liver as much as possible. And there's a product called, I don't have it with me, but it's Tudca, Tudca, and I'll have it in the links below. It's also called ox bile. So Tudca was one. Dandelion root and artichoke, I absolutely love those. Again, they're good. They're just detox, but potent. I always see results, and I always can feel better. Chlorella or spirulina, any kind of those green tablets are fabulous for the flush. I love NAC. I'm going to put it right here. I'm not going to say the name. I call it NAC. I'll have it in the links below. This is wonderful. I take it every day. This isn't just for the flush. This is in my normal rotation. I don't have very many things that I take daily, but this is actually one of them. I like it a lot. If you go to the hospital and you have like Tylenol is actually 10 times more toxic than ivermectin, but Tylenol poisoning, the hospital will give you NAC. It's a very good, I think it's amino acid, but I should know more about it. I just know I like it. There, chlorella. Okay, so we talked a little bit. So afterwards, I drink sienna tea at least 2 or 3 days in a row. And this just keeps everything moving. I won't have any more emergency rooms where I have to go to the hospital because I can't go to the bathroom. The sienna tea helps that. I also sometimes take Marilax. I just, again, don't like artificial stuff. And so sometimes that's kind of like my emergency kind of go-to when I feel like I need help. I'm trying to read what the last one says. Oh, and I continue with the wormwood, clove, black walnut hull. Even that's part of killing, but I also use it as part of the flush also. I just keep that going. The only thing that I just will do for 2 or 3 days is the hard pharmaceuticals. But I kind of consider those pretty easy on my system. I might not do a big martini dose, but I keep those in there in my system. And skin is a huge part of this, especially for what I've been dealing with, because they will move from the skin, and they literally can go into the blood from that. They can cross all barriers. And I kind of feel like I might be out of my mind, but when I take the medicine, I almost feel like they go to the skin and wait, because it's hard to take oral medicine and get the medicine into your skin. And our skin is like a big sponge. There's a million places and holes and crevices, and there's an ecosystem happening, unfortunately, there. And so as you do your monthly thing, put together some lotion. I really like ivermectin mixed with DMSO right here. And I actually prefer the DMSO gel. And then I just squirt my paste into it. And then I also sometimes add coconut oil, just because I don't want to coat my whole. That's too much medicine if I just rub DMSO and ivermectin on it. I need to get a carrier, and I need to kind of dilute the medicine some. So I will mix it in something pure, because DMSO, what this is, it's a natural. I don't know what you would call it. It's from the byproduct of. It's a fascinating medicine. It's from the byproduct of the paper industry. So this is basically just like tree blood. I know that's a weird way to say it, but it's all natural. And this will bind with the ivermectin when you put it on your skin, and pull it deeper into the skin and give it a more concentrated. Because when you're wanting to put ivermectin in your skin, you don't want just to put it on the top layer. You want to pull it into your skin. And this is the carrier that will help ivermectin go deeper and give your skin, and ultimately the parasites, find them and kill them out of the skin. Also on the skin, but separately. So don't use DMSO with other products, especially like if they have a really long ingredient list, because it's going to bind and pull that medicine into the blood, and you might not want polysorbate 80 whatever in your blood. So just be cautious that before you use DMSO, your skin is really clean. As a normal part of the skin treatment is this amlactic. It's an alpha hydroxy acid. And we haven't talked about it yet, but in these parasites, a lot of times there's biofilms. You actually kind of have to remove this layer to get to this layer. And this will kind of open up your skin to where you can, if you put this on, not directly ahead, like maybe the night before, and then the next day you do the ivermectin, DMSO, and coconut oil combo, when your skin's clean. But if you've used this, it's going to be more open. You're taking off the layers of it so the medicine can penetrate deeper. Okay, and I do want to talk about bath soaks. That's another huge way of cleaning the skin and detoxing and pulling all of these out of our body. I love a bath soak of Epsom salt combined with borax. You would do a cup, and a cup of baking soda there, and a cup of hydrogen peroxide. So 4 things: borax, baking soda, hydrogen peroxide. I'm forgetting some Epsom salts. So 4 cups of that in the hottest bath you can take, and soak and just stay in there. And it's actually not, it's very inexpensive also. It's not just to get those, maybe a $10 supply that'll give you like 5 or 6 baths to take. So but you will, it's amazing what will pull out of your skin during those baths. And they're very healing if you're dealing with pain from a rash or anything. It's just a great therapeutic thing to try. Oh, and the last one is black seed oil. They say, you can see this is like my bottle I bought at the beginning of this journey. And this is funny too. I bought this at the beginning of this too. You're going to laugh. Diatomaceous earth, like this whole container.
Oh my
and I'm
God.
not kidding. It's down to here, like all of that. I mean, a lot of it has been like on my sheets or like powdering my skin or, oops, yeah, I've used it several different ways, but I love diatomaceous earth, just a teaspoon of it in lemon juice and, just drink it with baking soda too. I like a little thing. It actually will keep you going to the bathroom. Sorry to keep saying that, but it will. And it is diatomaceous earth is excellent at getting out like the nano, like the little stuff, I think. But I use that as well. These just knocked over. I wanted to show them to you.
Oh, they're so pretty.
Aren't they cool? They're garlic flowers. They were
No
from
way.
my vegetable garden. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
When you grow garlic, you get
before.
these little like spacey, crazy garlic flowers, and you can eat these. And these are also seeds. But anyway,
Oh my gosh, they're so cute.
Thank you.
That's neat.
So black seed oil, this supposedly cures everything but death. That's what people say about it. I like it for my skin. I take it by mouth, but honestly, I can't say yay or nay. A lot of times I take things and I'm like, oh, got results. I've never seen huge results, but people swear by it, and so I kind of keep it and I keep trying it. I do put it in my bath and I put it on my skin, and that's a great way to take medicine because you're absorbing it. It'll still be good.
And like you said, our it's an organ. It's our largest organ. Mm-hmm. And that's something for me that I realized was like, I was allergic to so many different things. And once I also, instead of using lotion, I use coconut oil, just plain cold pressed organic coconut oil as a lotion now. Mm-hmm. And like my skin has been so much nicer since I've started doing that for the last few years than using tons of lotions and things with chemicals. And like you said, long ingredient lists and fillers and fragrances and mm-hmm. all that stuff goes into your body. And so you might have a rash, but there also might be stuff going on inside, or you could be feeding dysfunction in your body through your skin and not even know it. So I love all these natural alternatives, and I hope other people can sort of, start looking at their skin. I love how you said it's an ecosystem, mm-hmm. And we have like a whole like microbial ecosystem that is on our skin all times. And mm-hmm. it's like a living thing like on your skin that you can't see, and we kind of forget that. We think all of our living organs are inside, and like it's really easy to take care of your skin if you do these simple things like what Allison is suggesting.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And when I got that horrible rash, it was probably because my liver was so clogged and it didn't have anywhere else to go. And so the rash tells us so much more about what's happening inside our bodies. It's not just a rash. There's a reason there's a rash, a lot of times.
Yeah. And even people can relate to like how bad our skin can be infected with like toxins by like what are those called? Blackhead strips that people like, you see them put it on your nose, your face, and you rip them off. Like that can happen in all the rest of your skin too. Like we focus on our face and facial care, but that's just like one little place. Like the rest of your skin is just as susceptible to having all of those toxins in it. And so like doing the bath soak, like what Allison is saying, it's almost like you're taking one of those blackhead strips and like putting it on your entire body, but like naturally, and you're like extracting all of that crap that you can't see with the naked eye. That's just like lurking in your body. And like she said, that's getting into your bloodstream too, those things.
And again, our thoughts, like we're trying to have the clearest thoughts we possibly can. We don't want any infiltration, and by pulling this out every possible way we can.
Yes.
Again, we are aligning ourselves with we're releasing the control they have on us, and we're reclaiming our bodies as divine, and they're not welcome here.
Absolutely. Thanks for including that slide. I think it goes, our skin gets very overlooked whenever we're talking about detox, and we forget it's just as important of an organ as the rest of our organs internally, maybe even more important in a way, just because it has the ability to take things from outside and bring it into our internal system, and we can control that.
Yes. Yeah. Like this, honestly, it's I couldn't agree more. It's so I think as or more times, I think I've gotten more benefit just detoxing my skin over and over and over again.
Absolutely. Let me bring. Okay, I think that's last slide, right?
I think so. Yay! I guess I bet that is the last slide. We did it. Any other questions? I guess I know.
Oh my
I'm gonna
goodness.
look at my all my stuff here.
I mean, honestly, I feel like I guess one of the things that I would ask for people listening, I'm sure some people have either experimented with cleansing or they've at least researched it. Most people don't know anything about it. But for people that have, one question I could see is your protocol had a specific amount of days that you do each month for the different phases. Or I should say, there are different phased detoxes and cleanses. Some of them I've seen are 6 months, some are 3, some are like 3 weeks, 1 week. Is there reasons why somebody might want to do a longer one, or is doing longer more beneficial, or does it really matter? Can somebody get the same bang for their buck from doing a protocol like you, where it's kind of like a monthly cycle? They don't always have to be using these kind of expensive ingredients every single day for like 6 months. Can they get a result in doing this for a few days a month, the same that they might, doing it all at once for a specific amount of long time?
Yes, for sure. And great question. And I actually usually do mine on 2 week increments. So I usually do two a month. And I did the recommendation on taking the strong meds no more than 2 to 4 days. And that's really is just because if you're new to this, that's a good place to start. But you
Okay.
might want to build up to 10 days. People do. And I'll, when I give all the list of information, there's some charts that people will do, 3 days on, 4 days off, 4 days on, 3 days off. You'll see a little bit of everything. For one, a lot of times I'm trying. I'm like, okay, I'm going to take it 5 days in a row. But my body always tells me to stop ahead of time. I can't go those long spans. I've just never been able to break, I think, more than 4 or 5 days. Even if I think I'm going to try it for 10 days, I can't. For some reason, I can't. But I do it more than once a month. And my goal would probably be like a three on, four off, 3 on of it, and then I'm actually cleansing and prepping the rest of the other 4 days. But the time frame that I gave is basically a place to start, and then you're going to customize it for yourself on frequency. How bad do you feel? If you feel really bad, you're going to want to hit it a lot harder than most people, and you're going to put up with some of the herxing reactions because you need it. It's you're getting better, and sometimes you get worse before you get better. Sometimes you feel a little worse.
Absolutely. And I think that's a really good thing that you said. People who are just beginning, if you're looking at somebody online who's like super advanced at doing this, they've been doing it for years and they're able to tolerate a really long span of it, it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you if you can't. And some people's bodies, especially if you're, a woman and you don't weigh a lot, or there's just so many different factors, but everybody's different. So you really do. You have to look at like what's best for you with the doses and, how long you can tolerate stuff. And it doesn't make you less capable of doing something if it's not something that you can do for, 6 months at a time every single day.
Yes. What I would hope for a beginner is really you're just going to have to get familiar with these. You're going to have to get your own relationship with the medicines. You're going to find what, resonates to you. And then you'll get your own protocol going. But this whole message for this is just get familiar. Like, what are the tools that are available for me? And I wanted, to hear my experience might help you with your experience. But this is just a starting place. And I know a lot of people that can take it for 10 days and they can take like 10 times the potency that I've recommended. I'm actually kind of on the smaller side. I've had people say, take 60 milligrams of ivermectin 5 days in a row. I think that's way too much, but it might not be for everybody. So just find out what works for you.
And then the last thing I wanted to ask you, for people listening who are interested in this, would you possibly be interested in hosting a cleanse for a group of people to do? And maybe we could get a group of people together. They could connect with you. You guys could all start on a full moon and go through a cycle and kind of have like a community cleanse.
Totally. I would love to do that. Actually, I did that on my first cleanse. I like found one of those communities and it helps so much because it's scary and you don't know what you're doing. And like to have other people and also some funny stories will come up to be able to laugh at this whole experience, because it's it's outrageous and it's science fiction and it's crazy. And I never thought I would be, this would be a part of my life, like ever. I just how we all fall into it. But if we've got to take our health, our well-being, everything, emotionally, physically, everything. And these parasites we're fighting, light versus dark, and this category falls into the darkness. We fall into the light, and we are gonna clobber them.
That's awesome. For anybody listening, I would love your guys' feedback. Would you guys want to be part of a group parasite cleanse hosted by Allison? And you guys can connect with her, customize kind of plans yourself, and then ask her advice. And then you guys could all start on the same day and do a cleanse. And maybe it could be an ongoing thing if you all, might want to do the version that Allison does or on a similar time frame each month. It could be something ongoing that you guys just all do together. But if that would be interesting for you guys, something that you guys would want to partake in, please comment below. I'd love to hear and, get that set up. And maybe we do another episode and announce it and Allison can explain it. And then we can announce where you guys can connect. And, it would be free, of course. You guys would just have to supply your supplies. Mm-hmm. But like Allison said, there's budget-friendly ways to do this. There's also ways that you guys can really pour an investment in if you guys have that extra funding. So I would love it if we could do this. So that's awesome,
I would
Allison.
love it. Oh my gosh, that would be fun. Yes, please. That would sound great. And any other feedback, I would love to hear. So thanks. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, and if we didn't answer your question, ask it below. I think this topic is it's so big. One of the things I told Allison before we came on here, another fellow survivor, an Epstein survivor, her name's Audra. She had recently posted on Facebook something regarding Epstein and ringworm, and that there's some type of a common occurrence of Epstein survivors and maybe ritual abuse survivors in general. But I'd have to go look at the post. I read it a few days ago and don't remember off the top of my head. But she had said something about ringworm is something she's heard ritual abuse survivors coming in contact with from their abusers, and especially with Epstein. So it is kind of interesting how this is like a part of the ritual abuse experience with people. And, it's widely unknown by the rest of society. It's like parasites have been like occulted with the rest of the, dark magic and dark neuroscience that they play around with. And so you have to really take that into consideration of like, these things must be really powerful if they've like gone through the lengths to hide them from society as much as they have the effects of them and of the ritual abuse, of trauma, dissociation. They've largely hidden all of that too from academia. And they've done the same thing with parasites to where it's not openly talked about in a doctor or medical office. It's something alternative, and not something that a doctor really addresses unless you go see an alternative. So it is really fascinating. I think it should be higher up on our priority list with health. And I think obviously if they're trying to hide it and keeping it out of our view, and even with this explosive diarrhea thing that's going around, they're not calling it a parasite. Like they're literally labeling it explosive diarrhea. Like they're not even telling people that it's like a parasite unless you like take time to read up on it. So even that they're kind of like twisting around with people.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
It's interesting.
It is. You're right. It is.
But I really appreciate you coming on here and sharing. It's just a really important topic. And, I'm so sorry for what you went through, and also so grateful that we get to learn from you now and that you're here today and you're able to share how you got your vitality back and how you got your health back and, and your vibrance. And hopefully it can really be helpful for somebody on the other side of the screen who's just in the thick of it like you were years ago, and not knowing what to do. You give that beacon of hope to everybody of like what's on the other side of putting that hard work in.
Yes, I hope so. And you're not alone and you're not crazy, and reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you. That would be great. And
how can people support you speaking of reaching out to you?
Oh, I have a Buy Me a Coffee, Allison 1776 at Buy Me a Coffee. I would love to hear from you. And then I also have an email, Allison1776 at rocketmail.com. Send me anything with your questions, we talk. I might not get super long, in there, but I like to hear and I like to ask questions. Obviously, if you give me your symptom, it might take me 30 minutes to go over. So I can't really itemize each answer exactly, but I'd love to hear from you. And it actually just makes my day. When I get to connect.
And then she's also on X for those of you who are on social media as well. And I will have her handle down below. If you guys would rather reach out to her there, you guys can send her a DM and follow her and support her and share her content. And Allison, you're just a joy. I'm really grateful that you've come on so many times. You've become a beloved part of the community, and it's really amazing to watch you grow. And like I said, watching you like step into this role and educate people and to be able to share from your experiences, it just really gives a new meaning to putting purpose to pain. And it's really incredible.
Huge.
Been able to do that, and that's like such a transformative moment that a lot of survivors feel like they're never going to get to. And people like you show the example of yes, you can. And so what you're doing is just vitally important. So thank you for putting in this.
Thank you for giving me a voice. You've so been instrumental, and it's been I can't even put it to words. It chokes me up. It's been such a great experience, and you're amazing. So thank you for all you do, and thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And we already planned that we're going to have you on again. So you guys look forward to, hopefully we'll put together a parasite cleanse and have that ready for you guys sometime in the near future to follow this episode. So you guys can look forward to that. I'm really excited. And I'm going to have all of Allison's information below. So reach out to her via email, buy her a coffee if you guys have a little bit, and you guys can write her a note there and encourage her and connect with her. Really wonderful way to support her in her journey, especially hearing she's going to have to be moving a lot. We're going to have to help get her some resources. And, the best way to do that is to go to her directly. So I'll have all that as well as her email below. So please connect with her, you guys. I'll have all my information as well below in the show notes. Thank you guys so much for listening. God bless you all. And we will see you next time.